Hey YouTube, Nacer Mike here. It's been a long time since I've done anything on this YouTube channel, so I thought I'd do something for Christmas. Merry Christmas, by the way. And as you can tell, the thing I wanted to do is talk about Stranger Things, with it ending within a week. Next batch of episodes come tomorrow, the final episode comes next week, and oh boy, honestly, can't believe it's finally come to this point. I'm honestly really nervous that they can pull off a decent ending. I'm expecting, have high hopes, but I'm also expecting worse. It just doesn't feel like it. It just feels like an end of an era, really. Part of me doesn't really want to see this end because I just love the story so much, and I just, don't want it to end, but also at the same time, probably it is for the best for these young actors to just end the show and stop pretending that they're kids. But yeah, I know everyone and their mother has pretty much talked about the new episodes, but I don't really know what people think about it because I kind of tune out a lot of criticism to the show because some shows get a little contentious when it talks to what people think about some stuff, and I think Stranger Things is one of those things. So, yeah, a lot of people say the show has never been good since. I feel like a lot of people. I don't know how many people say the show is still good or if it hasn't been good since season 1, but I personally I've always loved Stranger Things, and I've got a lot to say. I rewatched the entire series leading up to this, and I even rewatched the first 4 episodes just the last 2 days, including today, because I don't know. I had some thoughts on this beginning of the season. But first, before that, I want to go into the rest of the season, rest of the series, and what I think. I don't know how much I think I'll just go over these shows pretty quickly. So yeah, the first season of Stranger Things is an absolute classic. This is such a nice throwback to all the old 80s shows like E.T. or Goonies or Stephen King stuff like Stand By Me or It. It's got a great premise. I just love the setting of the 80s aesthetic. I never grew up in the 80s because I was born in the 90s, but I just love that time long before all of our technology. I like the soundtrack too. The cast is really good. Just love the mystery of this world, the tension. Yeah, not much to say, but yeah, season 1 is just an absolute powerhouse of a season. And 8 episodes is really shocking just how so many shows that have 8 episodes to their names and are just so bad and just don't know how to really make a point. So much is just a bunch of nothing, just a bunch of fluff and just meaningless drip filler that just never really seems to make a point. Looking at you, Rings of Power. That's a show that has 8 episode seasons and just never commits to a point. Whereas this show, just the first season was just so good. Yeah. What I especially loved about this season, I just really loved Millie Bobby Brown's performance as 11. Forgive me for just looking up the pictures on Wikipedia. I'm a little lazy right now. I don't really want to look up everything. They just make little pictures like I have for season 5 down here. But yeah, I really loved her performance, how mostly silent of a performance she was. She did a really good job. How old was she? She's probably 11, I think. Pretty fitting for her character name, but yeah, she served as I just loved her performance in this season in particular, and she really served as an inspiration for a character that I'm personally writing. I write books, and I just thought she did a really good job there. Yeah, they really found a good cast of kids for the show. A lot of people it's always hard casting young actors, but they did a good job at casting and directing these kids, I gotta say. Another thing I really liked about the show is just how all these people come together, they all come to see the mysteries, all the upside down coming to screw with their world, and I just kind of a little little team, kind of a little found family that these guys can kind of have together, the boys. These are older siblings like Nancy and Jonathan, Joyce and Hopper. They all come together to have a little bond with this whole thing. Something really nice. I just like that feeling of how these guys all come together and can actually share that kind of experience and actually can talk about all this stuff and how they can defeat this and the upside down. Some people say that the show peaked at season 1 and that if the show was only just 1 season, it would have been a perfect show, which I like a lot of the stuff that comes out later, but yeah, I kind of agree with that. I can definitely agree with that. The first season is just an excellent season of TV. I can't really think of anything in these episodes that I really have a major problem with. Not really, yeah. It's a really well done season of TV. So much so that yeah, I even have the Lego set up there on my shelves. I don't know if I can really see it on the camera. Like if you can see up there on my shelves, I even have the Lego set. Too bad that they discontinued that years ago. But yeah, this is a great season. Next we have season 2. Like it's a bit more contentious of a season, but I think I personally you really enjoy this one. I think it pairs well with season 1, if you ask me. There's definitely some low points, but I think the show does really well with like continuing on the story to a degree. I don't know. I'm here for the characters. I really like the characters and the world and their unity together. Just like their little teamwork, just the dynamics that they have. I'm just here for that. Like, sure, I can definitely would like to know the backstory of like the Upside Down in general, but I think this season does pair well with the first one. There are some low points. Like a lot of people seem to really have a problem with the this particular episode 7, called The Lost Sister, where Eleven goes to meet another subject from her that was Tetsun and Hawkins' lab. I don't know. I've never really looked into why people don't really like that episode. I mean, to be frank, like I'm not gonna say it's like I think it's an amazing underrated episode. I think there's some definite problems. I like seeing how it gave Eleven a lot like some more character development, because like in episode 6 she was completely absent, and this was entirely focused on her, just giving her like some more character development, showing her where her place is. And like I really like this scene where she and the number 8 Callie, they go to track down that one doctor to get revenge. For whatever problems people have with this episode, I think that's a really good scene where they're almost threatening to kill this one guy. Really dark stuff for someone her age. I don't know, what are some of the problems people have with that? Do people just think the characters like Callie and her partners are just a little too campy? Like I can definitely tell like a problem is that the pacing is weird, how it's set right in between episode 6 and 8, where like episode 6 leaves on a really big cliffhanger where like the mini demodogs are have sensed their presence and they're coming back to the lab. It just cuts off right as they're rising up from the ground, and it's just like, and now that you have to go into a completely different side story, just completely cuts into that and just like breaks the pacing. That's definitely a problem. At least it's just one episode and not like, it's kind of a short episode too. So it's not like an anime filler arc where you have to go dozens of episodes before you get back to the main story. But yeah, that's definitely a problem. Like my biggest problem with this one episode is that well, the way they set up the character Callie, like the first episode, it straight up begins with these people, like they have like no connection with anyone in Hawkins. You're like wondering, who are these people and why are they robbing this bank? And then you see some character like using her powers to like make the police see an illusion, and then her nose bleeds and she like rubs her arm in such a way to show off her tattoo on her arm saying 8. She's like, oh, she's number 8. She's from the same lab as 11. Like, ooh, what's she gonna do? And she does like really nothing. She's only there for like one episode that almost does feel like a filler episode, and it's just like she's never been referenced at all again. And that's one of the most confusing plot points I think I've about the whole show. Like, I feel like they had a point, they had ideas for her, but they could never really flesh them out and just kind of left her really to rot. But I think the episode has some good moments. I can definitely see some faults, but my biggest problem with the season is how they reveal how Eleven comes back from the Upside Down after the ending of season 1. Because in season 1, at the end, she like destroys the Demogorgon with her powers, and then she just disappears. Then season 2, like at the end of episode 1, we see her suddenly back with Hopper somehow, and then episode 2 reveals what happens, that she wakes up in the Upside Down and like she's trying to find her way back, and then she basically finds a portal back into the real world only like 5 minutes after she just went missing. As like the most anticlimactic thing one of the most confused. That was just a bad plot decision. Like it was such a confusing thing. Like that just completely undermines the sacrifice of the first season. It's just leaves me questioning, why would you do that? Like you had to have better ideas like of how she could get back into the real world, right? Like, yeah. Oh, and one other problem that I have is particularly the character Billy. He is one of my least favorite characters in the whole show, and he's just like an absolute psychopath, just an absolutely abusive monster that's just abuses the new character, his stepsister, her Max, and is just got like pretty much anytime he's on screen, I just want to like smash his face in. He's just like the worst person possible. It's just, he's frustrating. He was so frustrating. And just, yeah, I overall like season 2. And season 3, no, I like season 2, and I will go to bat for that season. But season 3, yeah, I will agree that I'm just gonna be blunt. This is a bad season. Like, this is not a good season. Like, I do like some parts of the whole show. I like the whole summer aesthetic, like giving it the 80s fashion is really taking over, which might be a bit of a downside for a lot of people because it might be a little bit more campy. But I do like that whole aesthetic. I really like how they made Billy into the guy who's like basically making like the mind flayer, which is like now manifested in the real world and is trying to take over Hawkins. Like I like how they made him the villain. I always thought his actor, Dacre, I think that's how you say it, Dacre Montgomery, he almost kind of makes me think of Zac Efron, and the reason I bring that up is because I think Zac Efron was in like a Ted Bundy biopic, and he just kind of reminds me of, because of that, I just kind of make that connection, and just making him the villain of this season really works considering what he was in the last season, although he's a lot more sympathetic in this season, so because like he's not like in charge of anything, all the stuff that he's doing, like he's not in control at all. This monster is just making him do all this stuff. I wonder if there may be a little bit of himself in there. But yeah, I don't particularly like this season. I think some people might not like some of the more, I think the whole like the Soviets invading Hawkins to try to mine the secrets of the Upside Down for their own ends is a little over the top, and just how characters like Dustin, Steve, and these new characters like Robin and Lucas's sister Erica, who's now a major character in this show, that how they like basically, sorry, I got a little text on my phone, how they invade, like the Soviets are hidden underneath this mall, which is a front for their operations, and they manage to sneak in and like uncover their secrets. Like, it's just way too much of a stretch because like they're all kids and they're just, I feel like they're just getting really lucky through all of this portion. And then like Joyce and Hopper, like they're also investigating the Russians, and they get hunted down by this one guy who's a little too Terminator-y. Like he comes off way too much like the Terminator, like his voice and look. Like that's a bit of a problem. Like I personally could tolerate that kind of stuff, but my biggest problem with this whole season is just like they make the characters so unlikable in this whole season. And I'm pretty sure a whole lot of reason for that is because of Netflix politics. Because, like, they just make the characters just awful in this season. It just makes this whole season just completely insufferable to get through, and I just can't stand it. This is easily my... Unless Season 5 goes a really bad way in the next few episodes, Season 3 is easily the low point of the show. Like the whole thing is, like, Mike and Eleven are now dating, but, like, Hopper threatens Mike to... like make him stay away because he's being an overprotective dad. Mike freaks out, and then he abandons a date with him and Eleven's starting to get concerned, and then she joins up with Max, and like she's making him think like he's just being an asshole and just like being a bad boyfriend, and so Eleven eventually dumps him when sure, like Mike may have made a mistake, and like in episode 2, like going on the phone, he makes a lie about saying that he had to take care of his grandma, and like they're just like raking him through the coals throughout the entire season, and he did like nothing wrong to deserve that. And Lucas is also catching a lot of strays because like apparently she and Max have been like broken up like 5 times in between this season and the last, which is like really stupid. I don't like how they did that because they had a nice thing going on in the second season, and season only takes place 8 months after the last one, so that's frustrating. That's infuriating. And they just have like a complete disregard for like personal space. Like Eleven like spies like even if what Mike did is wrong, like they have a moment where like Eleven just decides to like kind of prank on them and like spy on the boys. What they're doing is like it's a total breach of privacy. Like it's breaking of boundaries, like guys, and they just like don't seem to care about it, and like oh, and much less like what's happening on with Nancy and Jonathan. This whole part where Nancy's trying to break this story for like the local newspaper, and the men are just being really dismissive and sexist, really. So this whole season is basically just like a girl power, like smashing the patriarchy fantasy, and it's just like it just makes everything like all the girls are just completely unlikable and throughout this whole season, and just completely ruined things. I feel like I mentioned like Steve and Dustin storyline, which I feel like people might think is the most over the top part of the whole season, but I think it's actually the more enjoyable part. Oh yeah. Also, I want to mention, like, before I get to them, Joyce and Hopper are being super frustrating because like Joyce accidentally stands up a date for him because she discovers something else is going on with the Upside Down, and Hopper's being really bitchy throughout the entire season. Like, it's just like really frustrating. It's incredibly annoying how they're just handling all this. Like, it's all such a bunch of miscommunications that could easily be handled well, and it's just like they're all being just like completely selfish and stupid, and just I hate the season. I really don't like this season. I feel like people might not like Dustin and Steve's storyline, but I feel like there was the most tolerable because they were the more fun character. They weren't as being as hateful to each other as it felt like. But yeah, this whole season is basically where wokeness comes in, because like all the girls are just being incredibly girl bossy and stupid. Like again, like Nancy's just trying to, like, there's basically like the whole patriarchy of the whole local papers, and she's trying to prove the men wrong, and Max is like giving her 11 a lot of bad advice, and like she loses her powers basically because of stuff like her and Mike's trying to protect her, and they're just saying him to just telling him off because he's trying to protect her. Maybe he's being a bit too overprotective, but he's right, because what happens to her, she basically loses her powers throughout for the rest of the season. And not to mention what they do with Steve, because like the new character they introduced, Robin, who I might say is probably my least favorite character out of all the heroes. Like, since like Steve broke up with Nancy at the end of the last season, you'd think that, oh, there's this new character that maybe that could pair up well together. They have a nice chemistry, but then it turns out Robin's a lesbian, so of course they need to have gay representation in this, and also basically to cuck Steve. So yeah, great on that, guys. This whole season is just a complete mess. Yeah, I have a lot to say about this. This is my least favorite season of the whole show, which thankfully, against all odds, season 4 just like really greatly improves on the last season. Like, this is like I'm honestly kind of shocked just how good this whole season is, despite the fact that every episode is now 20 minutes longer than usual, because like the first 3 seasons are pretty decently length episodes, with like they're only like 45 minutes to an hour long, and now the average length of the season episodes in this show are like 70 minutes, which is crazy. But I think they managed to pace this thing really shockingly well, which is crazy for how long these episodes go. Like, it gets a lot darker. We get a new villain with Vecna being like the one controlling the whole strings, although I kind of have some questions on him. Like, I feel like his presence kind of undermines the presence of the Mind Flayer, who they all set up as being like the big bad in the second and third season. Like, I hope they bring back the Mind Flayer with the next few episodes. They introduced one of the best characters with Eddie down here. Like Eddie is just like such, like, I don't want to say the GOAT, but he is kind of the GOAT. Like, he was just such a great, charismatic character that just like kind of this whole season just like, honestly surprised how well this season kind of revitalized this whole franchise. Anyway, yeah, the stuff with Vecna, like, kind of doing a bit of like a Freddy Krueger type thing, like haunting the dreams of several teens in town, and also going for Max, making her a prime target, like making. And also like how the Mike and the Byers in California are being hunted by the military while Elle is trying to get her powers back. Like, that stuff is like all just great. Again, like, the episodes are really long, but I don't really feel like they ever drag too much. Like, although this season isn't technically perfect, I think I would kind of say this might be my favorite season of the show. Though, like, there are some faults. Like one of the faults, like, I do enjoy, like, Joyce and Hopper's story, like how Joyce is trying to get Hopper back after he's, like, what happened at the end of the third season, he's, like, presumed dead, but he gets transported out to Russia, is now in a Russian gulag. But that stuff is good, but it's also kind of weird how basically Joyce and Murray are trying to rescue him from a gulag, and it's just like, they're infiltrating Soviet Russia. It's like what qualifications do you guys have to do that? This is like something way out of your wheelhouse, especially Joyce. Like, I almost feel like Murray's kind of cartoony this season. That's a bit dumb, but like Joyce is like, she's just a regular house mom, and how would she be able to navigate a Russian prison system, a Russian gulag? That's just dumb. Another thing that I have a problem with is like the character Dr. Brenner comes back in this season. Like, and they don't ever explain how he came back. Watching the whole show again, they did kind of set up a sequence, set up a little seed of him surviving in season 2, but like he just comes back out of nowhere, really. Like, the last time you see him in season 1, he gets basically mauled by a Demogorgon, and you think he's dead, but then if you hadn't watched it in a while, you'll just see him suddenly return, and now is like I just don't get what's happening here. And then I also have a little problem with how they're handling like Will. So now apparently Will's gay, so he's gay too, and also really pining for Mike hard. It's just like one of the most frustrating plot lines in this whole show, because like that's how Hollywood always does it. Whenever two characters have the same sex have a genuine bond, they have to make one character they have to imply that one of the characters is gay in that relationship. It's like from the same school of people who think that Frodo and Sam were gay. Like, it's like they were like as close as like brothers, even though they're not actually brothers. And it's just like making him gay just undermines their whole relationship. And it's also like Will. Like if you have those feelings, like this is my problem, because like, dude, like he should know very well how much Mike and Eleven care for each other, and he's just like constantly like crying. At least he's not like showing it outright to Mike, because that would make their relationship a lot more weird, but just like pining for Mike really hard. Is like, dude, he's known how Mike and Eleven have been for years, and he's like wanting to try to, what is he trying to break up that relationship for? I'm like he, at least he's not trying to break that up, but it's like dude, like come on, like it's just otherwise the season is genuinely fun despite how long the episodes are, and that's really an impressive feat. Now we kind of get down to season 5. What we're doing now. We had the first half released around Thanksgiving, and we have the last half releasing around, the first 3 episodes releasing around Christmas tomorrow, and the final episode on New Year's. And well, so I've got thoughts on this season. I rewatched the whole season just the last 2 days, and I think I'm a little bit more okay with things now, although there are some thoughts that I have are kind of lingering. So let's just the first episode starts out, we have this one scene which I was really shocked by. The first scene has like a little, like a continuation of that. Well, the first scene of the season shows like young Will back in like 1983 from the first season, where like there's this one moment where he's just like in the Upside Down in his fort, just trying to stay quiet, and then like the fort breaks open and like cuts to black, and then this first part is like continuing on after that, where he's being chased by Demogorgons. I was really shocked by how well they cast that kid. Like, I honestly thought that was actually Noah Schnapp back when Will's actor, or way back then. Like, they filmed this way back like then, as if they knew where the show was going, which would be kind of impressive if that was the case. But no, it was actually a different kid, and I was honestly really impressed by how they did that. That was really good casting. Wasn't too fond of like that little slow-mo jump when he's jumping across the tree. That was a little too much. But overall, the scene was good, although there are some people that had some controversy on that scene where Will gets like that big like thing like attached to his face and like just pumping him in with like that kind of like, with all that like those slugs from like the first season, like kind of H.R. Giger-ish style. People were saying it was like, some people were saying it was like implying some pedophilia, I'm not even demonetized, but some sort of like pedo-ness, if you will. And while if you found that stuff distasteful, I find some of the controversy a little confusing. Mainly because sure, you can find the scene distasteful. It is a little bit much for a young kid like him, but this isn't new information, people. This is where Joyce and Hopper found Will at the end of season 1, which came out back in 2016. So did anyone have a problem with that way back then? Because I don't know if I wasn't really aware of the show. I watched this first show a year after it came out, but I don't know if people had a problem back then. But if they didn't, and they are only having a problem with it now, then I think you're performative, and that's really stupid. But anyway, yeah, I'm just trying to tune out what people are saying on the season, because I just want to go into this with my own opinions and not really have to be conditioned by other people. I don't know if people are liking the season or not. I think the general consensus, they might like it, but others might not. But anyway, the show takes place the longest time in between seasons. The time gaps in the last few seasons always were 8 months to a year, and now this is as it says, 19 months. Although, is that true? Well, okay, I'm bad with math. So yeah, a year, or May, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. Yeah, that's 7 plus 12. Yeah, that's 19 months. And so yeah, this is the longest jump in. One of my biggest problems that I have with this season that I was kind of fearing going in, and was unfortunately kind of confirmed, how the last season ended, where the rifts open up and just completely decimate the town of Hawkins. And then at the very end of the show, all this ash is come pouring out from the rifts and starting to rain down on the city. You just to have the show cut such a far time into the future, by almost 2 years, and how life is almost sort of getting back to normal. It's just, I find that really hard to believe, because if you do the math, the main kids are now, all the main kids, Mike, Lucas, Dustin, all that, they're in their junior year of high school, well over a full year of school has passed, and how nothing else has happened is I find that really hard to believe that nothing has happened in that time. I know Vecna was probably healing in that time, but I would have felt there would have been a lot more monster attacks, or true, I feel they had to make this time skip a little bit more believable since the actors are aging up more, but I feel they should have done something not that long after the events of the last season, although that would have made things a little bit weird with the characters aging now. And yeah, I can kind of understand the military quarantining the whole town down and keeping this whole thing under wraps. This is back before the internet, so that I think that would probably be more understandable to handle. But they also managed to board up all the rifts with a bunch of steel plates, and I don't know. I just wasn't really fond of that whole explanation. I also would have liked to see. Would have also liked to see a full at least a little bit more time. If you don't mind me going back to the screen, a little bit more time developed to see what happens in the meantime, because some of the characters they take over this they have this whole system where they're going into secret hideouts, and they have the control of this radio tower where they're they're jumping into the the militaries when they're going to the upside down and the portal that's right in the middle of town. They're also going into their things, doing things called into their military transports, doing something called Crawl, which is the name of the episode. I would like to see how they got to that point, because it's just I feel there's a lot of information missing. It'll make the episodes longer. The episodes are now average 70 minutes long. I feel if you had maybe could have spared 5-10 minutes extra to show some of that stuff. Probably didn't have to be too much. Just just fill in the gaps, please. I would have liked to have seen that. However, I do like where I think I'm a little bit more used to that. Aside from that time jump, I think I'm a little bit more used to that. Even though I would have liked to see monsters and attacking the town every week or so, just to make sure this really feels like Armageddon, if you will. Yeah, they definitely ended I will say And I'll probably go on to like some of the casting of the season later. I do like how like they definitely really made this the first two episodes really mean something with how like the Demogorgons are suddenly attacking the Hawk the no not the Hoppers, the Wheeler family, just suddenly stealing the other sibling, like Mike and Nancy's younger sister, or Holly. Just like I like how the second episode's title before the episode released was completely unknown to make it more mysterious, and it's for good reason, because and for anyone, hopefully you have watched the show by now. If not, then oh yeah, that's another thing. I will before going on to this. I'm not very fond of how they kind of opened up a little love triangle between Steve, Jonathan, and Nancy. That's just I don't know why you had to do that. Like I feel like you were trying to set up. You're just like breaking up the relationships that you already set in stone really well in the early seasons, and just like because you didn't want to have Steve and Robin hook up because you wanted to have more gay representation, so you just had to make them a love triangle again. I'm not really fond of that. Like, just want to give Steve something happy for himself. Like, you've really kind of made him the butt of the joke too many times. It's really frustrating. He was like at the end of season 1 when he like takes up the spiked baseball bat to take on the Demogorgon. That was a really awesome scene, and they just really haven't made him as good since then. It's frustrating, but yeah. Going on, yeah. Episode 2 definitely has a really killer opening where the Wheelers family is getting attacked. That's a really good scene, although I would have liked it a little bit more. You feel like one little thing, like they've never in terms of the Wheeler parents, Karen and Ted, they always seem to give Karen's actress, her name Cara Buono, like a main starring role in the opening credits for reasons I cannot figure out to this day, because she's barely even a prominent character in this whole show ever. And also they just make Ted kind of like just a deadbeat, uncaring dad like you do in Hollywood shows. And I would have liked, like they were having the fight in the first episode, and I would have really liked to see a moment where Ted is like attacking the Demogorgon, like he's actively luring it away from them, and like he's to show that because like the whole thing that it feel like that he doesn't care about the family, and it shows here he does care and he's willing to sacrifice himself for them when the moment comes. But just the way it happened, like where he's just like kind of stumbles across it and just like gets blasted through the wall, and Karen and Holly run down the kitchen, like I almost feel like they didn't even notice that happened. And part of me was fearing that they'd actually would have just forgotten him and just left him to bleed, which would have been really horrifying, but at least they got him to the hospital. Yeah, so yeah, I also like this episode where we actually get to see Nancy and Mike have a scene together, like do something, which is one thing that I've always been really disappointed with this whole show. I would have, like how the first season with Nancy and Mike, how they're just like the usual bickering big sister little brother dynamic. Now that they have like a shared experience with the Upside Down, they could confide in each other much more. I would have liked to have seen some more seasons with them interacting in a more positive way, and they've never done that. At least it gave them something to do together. So plus to that, but I would have loved to have them do that way more often. You know what I mean? Yeah, just looking through all this. Yeah, we also have like I would have liked to see the team stay together more, but I think they'll get back together before the big final episode, because there's the scene in the trailers where Mike and Eleven are talking together. I do like seeing Eleven interacting with Hopper, like going on a mission together. They haven't really been interacting a whole lot the last 2 seasons, so I definitely appreciate that. Now I've seen this again and gotten used to that. I like the little plan that he set up to try to save some of Holly's classmates. This kid Derek. It almost feels like a little bit too much, because they're kind of committing a huge amount of crimes, like kidnapping his family and like drugging them, bringing them to a barn and like wrecking their house, like just to try to try to track down the Demogorgon. I feel really bad for their family's house, like when he cut open the floor and it just falls down into the dad's wine cellar and just like snatches dozens of bottles of wine. Like, man, I felt really bad for that. Like that is stuff that could get them serious jail time. So I do I do kind of like that stuff, but I wonder if people are thinking that's a little bit too over the top. I don't know. Yeah, it was fun seeing them all work together and like. Right, I was also wondering how they were going to handle Max in this season, considering that at the end of season 4 she's in a coma, and she's still in a coma in this season. I like how they're handling that because Holly's into like this alternate world, that part of the Upside Down, where she thinks everything's okay, but she's obviously being like bred for the slaughter. And then she encounters Max, who is apparently come into this world. So I was wondering how she's going to contribute if she was going to be like in a coma the whole season, which would have been underwhelming. But I like how they do that. Like she's part of this world, helping Holly get to safety. So yeah, that was all cool. And yes, episode 4 is probably the big one. Episode 2 and 4 are probably like the big episodes people will talk about. We're probably figuring out some more stuff. Not really used to talking off the cuff like this. Sorry, I'm getting a little out of breath. I do like these little cards, like I do like these little title cards that I see on Wikipedia. I wish I could see more of these. So yeah. What am I gonna talk about? Like, also like this plan to like break into the military base a little bit too out of the ordinary, but it still was fun seeing them pull it all together. And like that the end scene toward the end where we get like there's like the Demogorgons are just wrecking the entire crew, and there's like this whole like one of those like continuous shots for like 5 minutes where like Mike is trying to lead the kids to safety. I will say this season has definitely given Mike a big glow up, because I feel like he's been kind of on the back burner for a lot of the show, kind of like not really contributing it, a whole lot throughout the last 3 seasons. Really seeing him actually become a leader is also something I really appreciate. Something I really, yeah, that whole scene like where it's just like it's really gory too. Like this show was rated TV-14, and they had a lot of gory kills. I'm really surprised by that. Then we had some really big revelations toward the end where like Hopper and Eleven, they break into the military base. He's thinking they'll find Vecna, but then it turns out to be Kali from season 2, which is honestly, I don't know how people feel about that, but me personally, I'm actually really fond of that, because like Kali was like, I was wondering what her purpose of the whole show was after they set her up to be something really big, and just like kind of forgot about her for the last 3 seasons. But now that she's being brought back, I'm honestly really appreciative of that, because just makes me glad that she's not forgotten about. And then like the big thing toward the end of the show, like one of the biggest things I will definitely appreciate this season. Another thing is that Will has also been kind of like pointless throughout the last couple seasons. Like the first 2 seasons, he was obviously very important, where he's the main goal for the first season, where he was kidnapped and they're trying to find him. And then season 2, he's being possessed by the Mind Flayer, and he's like they're trying to save him. So and yeah, like you'd think that he'd be more important, but then in season 3, all he did was just have like a kind of pointless little spider sense type thing, where he senses like the Upside Down is coming and is starting to affect things, and like really doesn't really affect much. In season 4, he's not really doing much at all outside of like pining for Mike. But yeah, now that they've actually given him some more stuff to do, and I really appreciate that, like just kind of going back to basics there. I wonder how people feel about that. I talked about this with my editor. He was a little mix on at the very end of the episode, where Vecna comes to taunt Will and saying how he's going to use the kids to fulfill his plans. Now, like the final part of the episode was honestly like, I can definitely understand this does maybe feel like it comes out of nowhere, but it was a very effective moment. I think it kind of makes sense where little spoilers, where like right as the Demogorgons are about to kill some of their friends, like Will suddenly just like activates his own like kind of psychic powers, like 11, and I can kind of see how that works. Maybe like he's so like 11's like all their powers are coming about because they've been in touch with the Upside Down for such a long time, and Will's gotten such a big taste of that over the years. So I can kind of see how he can unlock it. He kind of has a little bit like a Harry Potter Voldemort connection with the Upside Down, if you will. So I guess he's kind of had that powers transferred to him, kind of like in Harry Potter, if you will. But yeah, that was a really cool scene. Seeing him wake up to his powers. The powers out of nowhere. Like they always talked about him being a wizard. So yeah, I personally like that choice. So now I'm really glad this is the last season because like obviously the kids are not kids anymore. Like all the main kids like Finn Wolfhard, Gaten Matarazzo. I don't know if that's how you say his name. Caleb McLaughlin, Noah Schnapp, Sadie Sink. They're all like in their 20s now. They're supposed to be playing 16-year-olds, which personally, like, sure, like they're supposed to be playing characters much younger than they are right now, but I think you could pass a early 20-year-old off as a teenager. I mean, they kind of did that with season 1 with like Nancy, Jonathan, and Steve. Their actors were all in their early 20s in the first season, and they're supposed to be playing 16-year-olds in the first season. So if I may pat myself on the back, I've had people tell me all the time, like when I was in my 20s, that they thought I still looked like a teenager. Now in my early 30s, people think I'm in my early 20s. So I think you could maybe do some makeup. Although I feel like Natalia Dyer looks really kind of ragged right now. Her face just looks like way older than. I don't know what it is, but she looks like a little bit more ragged this season. It's really distracting. Overall, I think they could pass them off as younger characters a little bit, but then there are some pretty notable ones. Most notably, like Priya Ferguson as Erica. Like her character is supposed to be 12 in the season, and her actress is now. When they filmed this was last year in 2024, and she was like 17 and 18. So yeah, the first season episode where she comes back, like they're doing kind of like a little perspective shots where they had to cut back and forth, like with her like facing the camera and her behind the camera behind her, like kind of doing like some perspective shots to make her look shorter because again she's like a 17-year-old playing a 12-year-old, so that was a little distracting. But yeah, I'm trying to suspend my suspension of disbelief. But what I can't really do that for is what they did with Holly. This is one of my biggest problems with this whole season. Well, yeah, one of my problems. So they recast the character. They recast Holly's actresses. Like in the last 4 seasons, she was played by 2 other characters. I say 2 because for the last 4 seasons, she was played. If you go down, let's see. Don't know where I could find. If you look at Holly Wheeler, she was in the first 4 seasons. She was played by 2 actresses named Tinsley and Aniston Price. They're twins, so they were like kind of like. So they're kind of like making them, like play like one another. It's almost like a weird kind of like Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen thing from like Full House. You know how if you ever saw the show, like they had twins playing this one actor and they interchanged the 2 actresses. It's kind of a weird thing, but yeah, they replace her with this new actress named Nell Fisher, who is November. This is something that I have a problem with because her character is supposed to be like 7 years old now, and also I find it weird that she's always been a background character and she's only just now becoming something more major. It almost feels a little weird that they're doing that so suddenly. I mean, I'm really hoping that they have. I'm sure they'll have plans, but that's beside the point. It's just that they recast her actress in this season, and I thought they were going to do it for someone who's actually younger, but apparently this actress is older than the last 2 actresses, and it is the most distracting thing in the world. So this kid was like 12 or 13 when she filmed the season, and she's supposed to be playing a 7-year-old, and it is so distracting because maybe I could kind of buy into it if her voice sounded younger, but she does not sound very young at all. She sounds like an obvious young teenager, like a 12-year-old, and it just really takes me out of it. Like I think her acting might be fine, but I just can't get past the voice. It is just so distracting. Yeah, sorry about that. Just got a little text. I think they cast some other good kids for this season, like the kid who they got to play Derek, this kid is also like 12, 13. And even though he's obviously pretty old, I feel like he sounds like a decently enough as a 7-year-old. Although the fact that he's like 5 feet tall is also a bit distracting. But I think that kid does a decent job. Oh yeah, and I think they're also like they're trying to gay code a lot of stuff with Will, like essentially opening up to his wizard powers, like especially considering that they're having Will hang out with Robin a lot more. It's like I know what you're doing, Hollywood. Like you are just driving the point home so hard, like trying to make him come out of the closet. Like just, oh god, like if they actually make like Will and Mike kiss, like God forbid, I hope that doesn't happen, but we'll see in the next few days. Like I'll metaphorically smash my TV. I'm not crazy, but if they do that, I am just gonna flip out. Like that's just like I swear, like considering that they have these two characters talk about this in kind of like veiled terms, it's just so forced. As it is always, like, is there like a gay version of the Bechdel test? Like, there's that Bechdel test thing where Hollywood writers have to like make a little list of how many times women talk to each other and like not about like talking about men. Like, is there like a gay version of that? Because that's what this whole scene feels like. They had to pair these two together because of their proclivities. Sorry, getting distracted. But overall, I'm a little bit more. I was a little conflicted of this season going in when I first saw it. But I think I'm a little bit. After rewatching it, I think I'm okay with it. But that will all change depending on how this show wraps up. Whew. I hope I've been clear. I really like this show. I've always enjoyed the show. It was just like a breath of fresh air when it came out because like so many TV shows at the time were just so nihilistic and depressing and just unpleasant to watch for me. Like me personally, like so many shows are just this great, just like amoral, or just like trying to, you know what I mean? Just like everything's just always pushing like just nihilistic themes and plots, whether it be like Game of Thrones, I know House of Cards maybe. I never saw House of Cards, like Breaking Bad, The Wire. I'd even throw in Rick and Morty. Like that show's pushing nihilism. Like this show is just a lot more uplifting and more fun, and I just like that. And I just pray to God the show ends well. It's been going on way too long, and I know why they went on too long because of all the. They could have ended this show like back in like 2022, 3, or hell, if they did this once a year, they could have ended this way back in 2020. But because of like the COVID lockdowns for season 4 and also the writer's strike for season 5 here, yeah, it's pretty. But at least they're ending this now. We're not going to have any problems with the characters aging up more, which is this problem. I can't really spare something like the Netflix One Piece show, which if they actually want to adapt that whole show, like that's going to be a nightmare. But that's beside the point. I'm interested to see where the show goes. I hope these next 3 episodes, and especially the finale, ends well. So, yeah. Overall, I like this show. I'm just praying that this finale ends it on a good note and it doesn't like end on like some sort of like it's not like trying to set up new spin-offs, because I know that they're having like they've been playing spin-offs for a long time with the show. I hope this ends on a satisfying note, and I hope it doesn't end poorly. I have a feeling that this show might end on like sort of like they might flash forward to where the characters are now like 10 years older, maybe in the 90s or so. Don't want it to be set in the modern day because they'll obviously make some sort of, they'll probably just like throw in some sort of like anti-Trump messaging, which I just don't want. Like just leave that kind of stuff out of it. And also the characters would be like in their like late 40s, early 50s by that point, which would be just kind of, don't want to see them that old. I almost feel like they might do something kind of similar maybe to It. You know, Stephen King's It, where like after they defeat the monster, like the town gets destroyed and the characters lose their memories. I don't know if that would be very satisfying though, but I almost feel like something like that might happen. Well, as long as it ends better than Netflix's Troll Hunters, which is one of the most bafflingly bad endings I've ever seen to a TV show in my entire life. It's sad because that was my favorite show. I hope these guys know what they're doing because they can't afford to screw this up right now. But yeah, those are my thoughts. I like the show. I'm interested to see where it goes, and I'm optimistic, and we'll see how it goes. The show ends next week. So that's all I've got to say about this. So thanks for watching if you care. I'm not going to do the next 3 episodes because considering that the finale is next week, I'm probably going to watch that, wait on it for a little bit to see how I feel, and then maybe watch it again to get a better feeling. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Stranger Things. So Merry Christmas, guys. Hope you enjoy the show and have a happy holidays. Take care.